Welcome to the Legit Lady Podcast, where we feature women who are nailing it in life. Hey, Legit Lady listeners. This is your host, Julie Federman, and thank you so much for tuning in to the podcast where we feature impressive women to inspire the world. And for those of you who have been reaching out, I really appreciate it, especially after last week's episode. I know this was an episode that touched a lot of hearts all around the world, and it really makes all the difference to us when you reach out to us and give us your feedback, you share your experiences, and that's something that we actually pass on to our guests too. And especially since our guests are often being very vulnerable with us, it's really great to be able to hear that feedback from our listeners. So please keep doing so. If you have feedback, thoughts, questions, anything you'd like for us to talk about before our episode, feel free to send us a note at legitladypodcast@gmail.com. And something fairly new we just started and got up and running is our Ko-fi page. And so it's actually spelled Ko-fi, like ko-fi.com/legitladypodcast. So ko-fi.com/legitladypodcast. And what this is a really quick, easy way for you to show a little bit of support for the podcast in a monetary fashion, because this takes a lot of effort, time. It's certainly not free, but think about it like if you would want to take me out for coffee or ice cream or something, or a drink, this is a great way for you to show your support for the podcast and keep us going, since we do put a lot of effort, blood, sweat, tears, dollars into making this on a regular basis. So thank you for those of you who've already shown your support. And speaking about support, a way that we've talked about in all of our episodes that you can support the podcast in a free way, so you don't have any excuse here, is to spend a couple minutes and write a quick review on iTunes, on Stitcher. Please subscribe to the podcast, because what happens is the more people who subscribe, the more people who rate and review the podcast, the more we'll pop up in algorithms and more people will then find us and listen to us. And so the whole thing grows organically. It's very nice. It's great how the internet works. So we're going to quickly read a review here on Stitcher, actually. And this gorgeous review is actually written by one of our podcast guests, Emily, who was the fabulous pilot who was on one of our prior episodes. And it says, "Such a cool experience. I absolutely loved being a guest on Julie's new podcast, Legit Lady. Julie was not only professional and well-spoken, but she managed to keep us laughing, all while tackling tough subjects that caused critical thinking. It was an honor to be chosen among the other Legit Ladies, and I cannot wait to see what Julie does with this show. Congrats to you." Thank you, Emily. You're the best and the bomb. This is great because for me, this is a total risk that I've taken. I did not go to podcasting school, radio school, or anything like that. This is something that's new to me. So for the dedicated listeners who have tuned in since episode 1, you see that this has been a great learning experience, and I get better with every episode, at least in my opinion. I get better with every episode, with every interview, and being able to get that feedback directly from guests right after we finish a recording of things like, hey, you know what? I do a lot of interviews, but they all stay really surface level, or they're not really interesting. And actually getting feedback saying like, wow, you pushed me out of my comfort zone. You really got stuff out of me that other interviewers haven't gotten out of, are really great and validating things that someone like me, putting myself in a pretty vulnerable position, loves to hear. So that's why I wanted to read this review. I really appreciate it. But for those of you, even if you haven't been on the show, please do review. It makes a huge difference. This week's news item I wanted to read, not to bring things down a notch, but it's entitled, "You Are Horrible People." And it's from the magazine Maclean's, but online, macleans.ca. And where this came from was, in Ontario at least, you would have received an Amber Alert, so a notification when a child goes missing. And this notification was I would say in the past year or so, set up that it actually sends you a push notification on your mobile phone, which is quite frankly a really great idea, because when a child goes missing, you need as many people to know about this as possible. And quite frankly, many of us don't watch cable TV or listen to the radio or things like that on a regular basis. We are plugged into music, to podcasts, or just not listening to anything. And so being able to get a push notification is really helpful, especially on your mobile phone. And most of us have our mobile phone attached to their hand, I'd say most hours of the day. And this title saying "You are horrible people" is in reference to one of these push notification Amber Alerts that came out very recently. And I'm going to read a bit of this article because it's sad and funny in a bad way, and you'll see why. You are horrible people. I mean that. I'm not being facetious or wry. You are not good people. And by you, I mean everyone in Ontario who had been griping about the Amber Alert that woke most of the province late last night. A family in Brampton, Ontario called police Thursday night because their daughter was missing. The police immediately began to search for the girl and sent out an alert to the public. As a result, her father's car was spotted and he was arrested. Tragically, it was too late for the 11-year-old Riya Rajkumar, who was found dead. This morning, the chattering classes on the radio, Facebook, Reddit, and Twitter, basically all the places where we now talk amongst ourselves, were whining about being startled out of their sleep. The most common complaint is that they were too far away from the point of the crime to do anything. A woman whose tweet had since been deleted was angry about the second message to say that the alert was now cancelled, believing it unnecessary. And others complained bitterly, saying, "We do not work for the police," one man wrote. Some even called 911, not to provide tips, but to criticize the alert. This is a comfortable land. Our cars have heated seats. Our winter coats have Bluetooth. Our hot dinners come right to our door. Life expectancy is higher than it has ever been, and crime is lower than we could have ever hoped. How did this happen? Mostly because we as a society figured out how to move forward together. Collectively, we agreed to a mostly unspoken social compact. If we look after each other, we will all be looked after. There's nothing particularly unique about this. It's a variation of the Golden Rule, which had been the bedrock of every civilization. But we have grown so entitled to our comforts, we've forgotten that we must pay for them, that we bear collective responsibilities. We can't be bothered to vote. We resent paying taxes for public goods. We volunteer in our community less and less. And now, we even begrudge having to help save the life of a child. This is what citizens are complaining about today. They were asked to help save a child, and this irritated them. In small towns, when a child goes missing, everyone knocks on doors and wakes each other up and searches all night, because in a community, people look out for each other. They understand the duty that we owe to our neighbors. They recognize that if you want to live in a town that protects its children, occasionally you have to get up, go outside, and help. This is a point that all the whiners need to understand today. If you want to live in a province that protects its children, occasionally you have to roll over in bed and check your phone. And if that is too much to ask, then you are objectively a horrible person. So I read the whole article because I thought it needed to be read. And this is something that we should all reflect upon, especially if you were one of those people, if you happen to live in Ontario, who were annoyed that they got a notification. In general, there's a trend of apathy that I've been seeing a lot with people not only in my generation, but other generations, even my parents' age, and saying, why bother when they have an option to get involved, whether it is voting or whether it is helping out someone in need. And we've become desensitized to all of these issues that are coming in because it seems like every other day there's something that we need to or should be protesting or speaking up about. And so naturally, your filters want to go up. You're like, I can't care about every single cause, so why bother? But if you think about the level of investment or level of energy that you have to put in for something like this versus the potential impact. So even if one person happens to be in the right spot at the right time to see something that could help save a life, then that momentary inconvenience really doesn't matter. So take a moment, chew on that, not to bring you down, but it recently happened and it just made me shake my head. That said, to bring things up a notch, this week's guest is an absolute trailblazer. I actually had the opportunity and I needed to see her after I was unfortunately in a pretty big car accident a couple years ago. See, I promise this is going to actually get more positive. This wonderful, legit lady helped me out tremendously through rehab and her wonderful treatments, since she's actually a chiropractor and acupuncturist. She's an entrepreneur. She's the owner of the Chiropractic Office in Mississauga, and she's had a ton of awards and accolades for her work being a leader in the health field. I'm so proud to introduce the woman who saved me a lot of headaches, a lot of pain, and brought me out from a terrible place. Nekessa Remy.
Yeah. So awesome.
Good
for you for doing this.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you.
Yeah, it's needed.
Yay.
Yeah, women need to hear things like this.
Absolutely.
Really. Yeah. No, that's great.
That's why I'm grateful and happy to welcome you onto the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yay. So the way this works is we're going to go down 10 main questions.
Okay.
And lots of follow-up in between, lots of random additional questions. Since you have a lot of great mastery and information to share.
Thanks.
Oh, yeah. I'm filling out all of my Post-it notes beside me. This is the very high-tech solution.
Love it.
But with that, we're going to dive in with question 1, which is, what advice would you give to your teenage self?
Wow. Okay, so we're talking almost 20 years ago. Wow. No, I think what I would tell myself is that I'm worthy of all of the dreams that I have. I think as a kid, I always thought, well, as long as I get a job and I get a check every 2 weeks, that means success. But I never thought about actually enjoying what I do. So as a kid, I was almost afraid to dream big because I just didn't see anybody that was really doing anything that they were passionate about. But I was lucky that I decided to follow my heart, so to speak, and find a career that I'm passionate about. But any young girl that's out there, I would want them to know that you are so worthy of any dream, how big, how small, how crazy it sounds. It doesn't matter. You are worthy of anything that you want to accomplish in this world. So yeah, that's what I would tell young Nekessa.
That's a great piece of advice.
Yeah.
And when you said you were growing up, you didn't have any particular dreams, or at what point did you start getting these aspirations?
Yeah, well, it's a very interesting story because as a kid, I was very active. I loved sports, and in particular, I loved track and field. So growing up in Toronto, Ben Johnson, before all the scandal, was a really big deal. He was the fastest man on the planet, and he was from Canada, and I was obsessed with him. And I remember in the late 80s, early 90s, I met him. No, it was late 80s. It was before the scandal. So I met him at a track and field competition. And I remember this day like it was yesterday because I was standing right in front of him and there was a group of kids, but I made it to the front and I was eye level to his stomach, and he was wearing
I'd come up to his kneecap.
Yes, exactly. So he was wearing a crop top because that was the style back then, was to have this crop top, and I was literally staring at his six-pack, and I just remember thinking my dad doesn't have one of those. Sorry, Dad.
No shade.
Exactly. But how does he get those muscles? How does his body work? How does he run so fast? I was just obsessed with it and I wanted to know more. So that's kind of where my interest in I guess health, wellness, sport, all that kind of stuff sort of developed, was meeting Ben Johnson and just seeing him as this figurine, like this statue of David kind of thing. Like just seeing him that close and realizing, wow, like he's real and he's strong and he's fast. And yeah, I was just obsessed at that time and wanted to know everything I could about the body. So that's kind of where it started with Ben Johnson. Thank you.
Blame Ben Johnson.
Yes, exactly.
In a sort of good way this time?
Sort of good way,
Sort of good way.
yes.
Got it. And then from there, you studied kinesiology, and I'm assuming that's sort of what informed that decision.
Yeah. And we know, speaking of women and business and all that kind of stuff that we're going to be talking about, I had a teacher actually, Mrs. Baird, who was my high school gym teacher. And I took every one of her courses that she offered because I loved her so much. And so she taught kinesiology in the 12th grade. And I loved the class and I did really well. And she was really motivating and like, Nekessa, this is something you should think about. And I was like, you know what? You're right. Like it's combining sport. It combines the body. So I was like, yeah, this is something that I'm really interested in. And so that's what got me into kinesiology at university, was taking that class and thinking, yeah, I want to learn more about it. Although I didn't quite know what I wanted to do with it.
Yeah.
I just knew I wanted to learn more. So that's how I kind of ended up in the kinesiology route.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I empathize because I also studied kinesiology too. And it was also for me, like being a dancer, knowing about the body and also being a science nerd in high school, I'm like, okay, what's a cool way to be able to do the two things together?
Right.
With me, I had no intent of potentially becoming an occupational therapist. I just thought it was cool and interesting, and I didn't want to take something more generic. So I'm like, this sounds interesting. Don't know where it's going to lead me.
But just went with it.
It's true.
I get it.
It's true. And so at what point in your kin degree did you decide on where you wanted to specialize?
It wasn't until after I graduated.
Okay.
Actually. Because in kin, like they tell you and they teach you that you can be so many different things. I could have been a phys ed teacher. I could have gone to med school, done physio, coaching. So I really graduated kind of not sure what I wanted to do. So I thought the best thing to do was, I was kind of leaning toward physio. So I was like, why don't I work for a year? So I worked as a kinesiologist at a physiotherapy clinic. However, when I got there, their physio had been fired.
Oh.
Yeah. So here I am, first day. Oh, I'm so excited to work with this physio. Ah, surprise, no physio. So I'm like, okay, cool. And they're like, oh, there's this chiropractor you're going to be working with. So I'm like, okay. So she comes out of the room and she's like a Black female doctor. She's Dr. Nicole Golden. And I was just like looking at her because at that point in my life, and I think I was like 20, maybe 21, I had never met or even maybe seen a Black female doctor.
Really?
And being a Black female myself, I was kind of like, oh, well, who are you? How did you get here?
Who's this mystical creature?
Exactly. She was this creature to me. I was like, I need to know more. I need to know everything about you. Who are you? How did you get here?
Let me be your best friend.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, forget about working. I just want to talk to you for 8 hours a day. I have so many questions.
That's awesome.
And and so I met her and she was just lovely. Like she was smart. She loved what she was doing. She was so patient with me and all of my questions. And again, tying into like kind of like this female mentor, she was like, you know what? I think chiropractic would be good for you. And watching her like use her hands to help people get better, feel better. She wasn't prescribing medication. She wasn't doing surgery. She was literally just using her own hands to help people feel better. I was like, that's it. Ding, ding, ding. Light bulb or whatever went off in my head. And I was like, that's what I want to do. And so I applied. And yeah, a month later, I got into chiropractic school.
Wow.
And it was, best career decision I've made to date.
Are you still in touch with her?
I'm not, unfortunately. We were in touch for a few years, and then I think she had babies and she took time off, and then at that point, sadly, we lost touch. Mm-hmm. And it's funny, like I've actually talked about her. I did this other interview a few years ago and talked about her, hoping like maybe she'll like hear it and be like, hey, Nekessa. Yeah. But no, sadly we lost touch, but I'm very grateful for having met her for sure. Yeah.
Wow. Who knows? Maybe she'll listen to this
I know,
someday.
Maybe.
That'd be great.
Contact me. Nekessa Remy. I'm everywhere. Just Google me.
Just Google me.
Exactly. You'll find me.
Yeah. Oh, what a great story.
Yeah.
And you mentioned at that point in your career there being a lack of representation.
Yeah.
Black women in the medical field. How have you seen that shift now? And what are some ways we can continue to foster that kind of inclusive space?
That's so important. I'm so glad you asked that. I have to say, like, when I was in chiropractic school, my class was a very special class because we actually there was 5 Black females. And that was like the most Black students that I think had ever been in a chiropractic school. And we're talking, when was this? I started in like 2003, 2004. The chiropractic school had been around for like 40 years. And at that point, I don't think they've ever had a class that had more than 1 or 2 Black students. So the fact that there was 5 of us was amazing. And the classes after me, I don't even think have had that many. So our class was a very special class. But before that, like throughout university, being in kin programs and doing different science things, medical groups, there wasn't a lot of Black females. There wasn't a lot of Black students in general in my at my university. And
why do we think that is?
And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that, first of all, university is expensive. And I'm sure if we look at the Black population and look at like all of the socioeconomic stats, we're not in the upper class. A lot of families are struggling, and university is a huge expense.
It is.
And, I know for me, like my mom wanted me to go to university. My parents were really for it, but I knew they weren't going to pay for it because they didn't have the funds. So we did a lot of research on finding OSAP, finding other funding through the banks. Like we had to work to find the funding, and maybe not everybody has access to that or the knowledge to do that. So one of the things that I think is really important for people like myself is to go back to our high schools, our grade schools, so that people like don't have to wait till they're 20 or 21 like I did to have to see a Black female doctor. Like that shouldn't be the case, especially in Toronto. So I, for example, do this event every year called the Excellence Conference. So it's actually a conference that was started in a Black church in Mississauga. It's a huge church. And what they do is they have a day where they invite Black professionals of all occupations you can think of. Pilots to PR people to people in tech. They have us all come down, and it's like almost like a career fair. So students can come and ask us different questions about our careers, how we got there, schooling. But the other thing they do that I think is so important is they invite parents. And parents come in and they have different lectures. Lectures are being held by people in the school board, teachers, principals, superintendents, to give them information on how to get your kids tutoring if they need extra help, how to find grants for your kids to go to post-secondary education. So I think doing more of that, really going back and educating the community, is key to helping those numbers increase.
That sounds like an amazing event. Yeah. And you said it happens only once a year?
Only once a year. Okay. They do it in the fall, and I think they were looking at doing it in the fall and the spring. I know last year they actually had on, I think it was the same weekend or maybe one weekend apart. They did one in Brampton, and then they did another one, I think, in Ajax, because the response was so good. I mean, the one year I did it, the people were coming in from like Hamilton to come to this event. And so anything I can do to support things like that, I want to do, because it's so important. We need more diversity in all aspects.
100%. And you're right, that barrier to entry can sometimes just be dollars.
Exactly.
It's not necessarily capacity or intellect or anything like that, which is really annoying in my opinion. So I love that initiative, and hopefully there's more that can continue.
I know I'm always looking for ways to kind of give back, and I have lots of friends that I've met over the years that are in, similar positions, professionals like myself, that want to give back, because we don't want to be the only one when we're in meetings or at events. Like there should be more of us. So I know a lot of us are passionate about increasing the numbers for sure. Yeah.
You're so inspiring. I knew there were many reasons why I wanted to invite you on, but here's just another one to add to the list. Great. And you mentioned dreaming big. You're worthwhile. You're worthy of the dreams that you have. So what are you dreaming about right now?
Right now, my dreams are very focused on, I just opened up a clinic in Mississauga, so very exciting. So it's a new facility. It's a lot bigger than anything I've ever done before. So that really is where all my thoughts and focus is on, is just getting that up and running. And we are in week 3. Yeah, and it's coming along. It's coming along. So my dream really is just to create a multidisciplinary clinic where people can come in no matter how much money they make, what education they have. They can come in and really have all aspects of their health taken care of. So that is my big dream. That is what I'm currently working towards. And yeah, it's what's keeping me up at night right now.
Yeah. Well, especially so fresh after, because you've always had a clinic there, and this is just an expansion.
Yeah, because the first clinic I had was really small. It was really just me and one massage therapist. So it was very small. And I guess too, we talk about dreaming big. Like I was there for 8 years, and it was successful, but it started to get comfortable, and I wasn't really like growing, or I was starting to feel a little stagnant, and I know that's never a good thing. So I spent a year figuring out, okay, what can I do to challenge myself a little bit while also doing what I love, which is helping educate people on how to be healthy. So yeah, the idea was born, and we're 3 weeks in, like I said, and it's happening. It's happening.
Boom. That little girl who didn't have big dreams. Look at her now.
I know. Honestly, if I look back, I never would have thought I'd be doing this. Never in a million years.
Wow.
So yeah, it's just been through a lot of great mentoring, and just, always challenging myself and just believing that I can do, as corny as it sounds, but you can do anything you want to do as long as you work hard, right? So that's what I'm telling myself every night.
Yeah, that's your mantra. Well, congratulations. That's a huge accomplishment.
Thank you so much.
And I remember when we were talking about this a little while ago, and it was coming up, you were saying, listen, this has been an incredible journey, but very challenging. It's forced me to face a lot of conversations and things for the first time that I would never have dreamt of, especially being a female business owner. Can you share a little bit more about that experience?
Yeah, for sure. So there have been a lot of little bumps in the road. For example, like the whole renovation of the space, for instance. I don't know anything about renovation. I don't know anything about air quality and ducts and types of flooring.
Only when it goes quack.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Like I don't know. I mean, I watch HGTV sometimes. Like that's as far as that's as far as it gets. So in kind of designing this whole thing, I had a strict budget that I wanted to stay in, but the contractors, they're always trying to tell you, oh no, you need this, you need that, you need it. And I'm just thinking, do I really need all of this? Like, what is this sconce thing he's talking about? Some light fixture? Like, can I just put a fluorescent light in there? Like, why? Like, that was very intimidating to me, because I'm in a situation where I really don't know anything about what they're talking about. And, at night I would try to go home and like Google things and try to figure it out. But it was just, that was really overwhelming. And because I'm a woman dealing with 3 guys like that are sitting me down at a table telling me I need this, this, and this, and I'm like, I don't know if I need any of it. That was really challenging for me. So what I decided to do, because the research wasn't working, I was just too tired at night to go Google flooring.
I mean, that's not what you want to do after a full day's work?
You know what? That was not really a good Friday night for me. not really into that.
Flooring and sconces.
Exactly.
So fun.
Just not my idea of a good night. So I'm very lucky that my dad was formerly in construction before he retired.
Oh, that's convenient.
I really, really, really relied on him. And I think learning that it's okay to ask for help. Like, I don't know everything. Like, I wish sometimes I want to be that superwoman that said, yeah, I designed this clinic myself. And yeah, I picked the colors myself. I didn't do any of that. And a lot of it is I just don't have the time to do it. But also I just didn't know. So asking my dad to like come in and kind of help and explain things was really helpful. Like, honestly, I don't even know why I didn't think about doing it sooner. I really just thought I wanted to do everything on my own. So for me, realizing that it's okay to ask for help, and like my dad, I mean, it was his dream to come and help me. Like I didn't even think about that at first. Like, of course he wants to help me. He's my dad.
Yeah.
Right? Like, why wouldn't I think to ask him that? Well, before I'm sitting at this 3-hour meeting, just people literally are talking a different language, and I'm just sitting there smiling like, okay. Because I don't want to be disagreeable. I just want to be like, okay, sure. 20,000. Okay, sure. Like, it was ridiculous. So my dad came in and really, really helped me kind of navigate through that. And having him by my side also helped give me more confidence. So I felt like, this is what we want. This is what I can afford. This is what I can't afford. Like, it really helped me take charge of the situation. So that was really something that I look back at now and thought, that taught me a lot. Like, I've never really asked for help before. I wasn't really something that I don't know, not that it's necessarily a sign of weakness. Maybe sometimes I do think it's a sign of weakness, or I'm just really proud and want to say I did it all on my own.
Yeah.
So that was a learning experience, asking for help.
I think it's a really refreshing thought that having an advocate by your side can really help you so significantly and can help you be even more aware and even more strong in decisions that you make, you know, and having that advocate there doesn't take anything away from you. It just allows you to unleash that fury and that power. So you don't feel like you have to devolve into that like agreeable yes person because this is outside your domain. Right. You know?
No, it's so true. I didn't realize how strong having help would make me feel.
Yeah.
And it really did. It really did. So that was something that I cherished from this whole craziness of getting this clinic ready. Man.
What a cool experience. Hopefully you took your dad out for dinner or something as a thank you.
I owe him. It's coming. I will be so listening. It's coming, Dad. It's coming.
Yeah. All right. So with that, I'd love to move on to question 2, which is, what's your proudest accomplishment?
I have 2.
Only 2.
Yeah, 2 for sure.
I know. I was doing my research on you. You're super impressive.
The 2 that stick out, and well, definitely opening the doors to this recent clinic in Mississauga. That has definitely just taken the cake in terms of proudest moment, and I'm still processing that moment. So that was awesome. And the second one was actually, it's just funny but true, learning to drive standard. Was like
really?
Yes. Learning to drive standard was one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do. And I learned when I was still in chiropractic school. So this is about like 10, 15 years ago, not too long ago, because I learned to drive automatic, and then my car broke down, and my dad's like, look, this is all I can afford is this car, so you're gonna have to learn to drive it. And so he bought it for me. I think it was like August 15th, and school started August 28th.
Oh, wow.
So I had like a week to learn to drive standard. And I remember my brother saying, it's going to take you a weekend. Like, you'll be fine. You can learn it in a weekend. He learned it in a weekend. After 2 days, I was in tears. I remember coming home and like telling my mom, we have to get rid of this car. I can't drive it. I'm stalling in the middle of the street. Like, it was horrible. Like, it was so hard.
I feel like that would be me. I literally I grew up, I'm born and raised in a city. I literally just got my full license like last month. Only out of a state of like, I should probably have this, not any necessity. So I can only imagine that if I tried to learn standard, I would be the exact same way.
It was, oh my goodness. It was one of the scariest things because you're literally stalling like in the middle of the road. People are honking at you. It was terrifying. And there were moments where I was just like, I think I'm just going to take the bus to chiropractic school. It would take me 2.5 hours, but I just can't drive. So after many coaches, my brother, my dad, my friends, like I had so many people help me that luckily on August 28th, literally the day I started school, that was the first day where I actually drove and did not stall.
Oh, wow.
So that seriously, out of the sheer fear of like stalling and just wanting to give up day after day after day, when I finally drove to school, that was one of the proudest moments. And I still yeah, I cherish that moment. That was a big moment for me.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
And do you still drive standard?
I ended up driving standard for a good 7-8 years.
Wow.
Yeah, the car
You're
I have
pro now.
Yeah, I could easily drive standard now. Now it's like, please, no problem.
Yeah,
but
you'll be good in
I'll
Europe.
tell you. Yeah, exactly. For those few days, it was hard. It was very hard. Yeah, very hard.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, one of my proudest moments getting to school in that vehicle.
Oh man, good to know. So if I ever need to learn how to drive standard, I know who I'm calling
I've
up.
learned some things.
Nekessa, can you please save me from myself?
I will be there. I promise you.
Oh, that's awesome. All right. So question 3, and I'm curious to hear this because I know you're a busy lady, is how do you balance work and life?
Well, that's always like a hard question for me. I heard someone once say like there is no such thing as balance. It's more like harmony. And I kind of get that because I never feel balanced, like I'm doing enough work and enough like enjoyment of my life. I never feel balanced. Like it's just, I just haven't in the last 11, 12 years I've been doing this. I just never felt balanced. But there are times where I feel harmonious. Like I know, okay, today, for example, was a very busy day at work. I have a girlfriend right now who's, for example, like going through a breakup and I know she needs me. And today I was like, I can't text her. Like I have too much going on. But I knew that when I get home later, I have this video that I'm going to send her, like just a motivational video that I found. So I'm going to send that to her and then I'll feel good about myself, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I should just take 5 minutes and text her, but I just can't because I got to get this file done. I got to get this patient note done and da-da-da. But I knew that when I get home, I'll have a few minutes for her. So even though it's not going to be till later today, I'm still going to get it done. So for me, it's about harmony. It's kind of knowing that, yes, sometimes I am more focused on having fun and I'm not thinking about all the things I have to get done. And that's okay because the next day or 2 days later, I will get it done. So it's all about just understanding for me that I'm never going to feel balanced and that's okay. There will always be one thing that's getting more of my attention than the other. And that's okay because it will all work itself out.
Yeah. It seems like this is something that you self-talk yourself, like especially if you get really busy or if you're in a stressful state of mind.
Absolutely.
Do you just tell yourself that?
I tell myself that. Okay. Absolutely. Self-talk is so important for my mental health, for everything that I do. I need to remind myself, like I'm not perfect. There are mornings where I wake up and I feel like I don't think I can get through the day. But if I remind myself of the things that I've done that I'm proud of, if I remind myself of what I accomplished the day before, that gives me that little pick me up that I need to get out there and do it all over again. So I never stop. Like it's always a continuous conversation. I sound crazy, but there's a continuous conversation in my mind because I've been in, like when I started business and I didn't know what the heck I was doing. There were days where I was just so upset and just so down on myself and I never ever want to get to that point again. So yeah, I talk to myself through a lot of things and I will continue to do that.
And that's so important. I mean, some people, they write notes on their mirror. Yeah. So they see it in, every single morning when they're brushing their teeth.
Exactly.
But having that reflex to just do it yourself automatically is a good one because sometimes that stress or that feeling of being overwhelmed can just drag us into a spiral.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm not perfect. It's not always automatic. Sometimes I have to force myself to do it, but that's okay. That's okay. Nobody's perfect.
You're so chill. This is so great. I feel more relaxed just talking to you.
Awesome.
It's like part you, part the wine. We're
yes,
good.
I know. I think it's a little more wine.
No. More you than the wine. Okay, question 4. Can you tell us about a difficult moment in your life?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, business-wise, how I ended up actually having to start my own practice was I was working in a practice for someone else. And he was a great business owner, but not necessarily a healthcare business owner. He was all about quantity versus quality of care. And so he was creating an environment where a lot of the practitioners just were not feeling comfortable. And it got to the point where patients were noticing that like practitioners were coming and going, like people were quitting, and they started to comment to me on like, hey, yeah, what's going on here? Are things good here? And the fact that they could sense it, that's when I knew I was like, I gotta get out of here. Like it was already draining on me, but the fact that my patients were now sensing it too meant this is not a healthy environment. And here I am dealing with people who are injured or who need healthy advice, and I'm in a place, an environment where I just don't feel healthy. I feel sick. Like, how can I possibly help them? So yeah, it got to a point where I had to leave. And I had a colleague that I was working with at the time. She was like, hey, I'm leaving too. I'm going to start a little gym. And if you want to rent some space, you can have an office there. So I was like, okay. I didn't have a lot of money. I think I was 2 years out of school. So I had all this debt, but I was like, I have to do something. I can't stay here because my patients aren't getting better. And that's my number one goal. So I have to move and create a space where they can get better. So that was great. We ended up moving into a place. And then we got sued by...
What?
Yes, we got sued. So he ended up suing us for a lot of ridiculous stuff, like literally...
What? So your previous employer, yes, oh my gosh.
Sued myself and this other woman who had left, and another massage therapist who had left as well. He sued us for things, I kid you not, it read in the lawsuit, for stealing paper clips, staples, paper. Like this is, I'm word for word, this is what we were sued for. And a whole bunch of other random things that never happened.
Why?
He was mad that we left. What I did not realize was he sadly was suffering from some mental health issues. Later we found out he was diagnosed with like manic depression. So he was having his own issues, and he just wasn't capable of running a business. And but yeah, he sued us. Then he would like drive to our facility and sit in the parking lot. Like it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. And I just remember I was terrified. Like I'd never been sued before. Because he was suing us for like $100,000 or something crazy. And I was just like, what do I do? What do we do? So luckily we had a lawyer, and he kind of explained it to us and really just reassured us. And of course, nothing came of it because there was no legitimacy behind the lawsuit. But there was a period of a good 6 to 8 weeks where I was panicked. Like I really didn't know what to do. What had I gotten myself into? You know, it was horrible. Like I questioned starting my own business. Should I have done that? Should I have just stayed? Like, yeah, it was not a good time. But through that, it just taught me that like anytime you get through anything that's difficult, you realize just how resilient you are. Like I was able to treat patients, to continue to build a practice, even while all of this craziness was going on, you know, outside. But yeah, it all resolved itself, and yeah, my practice flourished. So really, I just take it as an experience that taught me just to keep believing in myself and just put one foot in front of the other. Just keep going. No matter what stressors or what's happening, just keep moving forward, and you will eventually get through it.
Wow. Yeah, your character really develops and really reflects when you're going through that type of adversity.
Exactly.
Good on you.
Exactly.
I would have like gone out there and like thrown water on him or something like that.
We had to literally refrain ourselves from like going out there and banging on his window.
Oh, that's terrifying.
But, it was scary and just, but it's part of the past and something that I learned a lot. So
yeah, no wonder his practice wasn't doing well if he was spending all this energy stalking you guys.
Eventually, he lost his practice, and
wow.
Yeah.
So speaking of really great patient care,
yes,
not that guy, you.
Yeah,
thanks. I noticed that you won an award actually for patient care in 2017.
I did,
from the Ontario Chiropractic Association, and was curious if you wouldn't mind sharing if there were things, or if there are things that you do that are very front of mind for you as a practitioner that obviously led to you winning that award, or just in general things that you do that create a really great patient-practitioner relationship.
That's a great question. I think for me, the one thing that I really try to do is to educate my patients. I never want my patients to be reliant on me only to get them to feel better. I want them to know that, or to feel that they are also in control of their own health. So yes, things happen and you might need it to come in to get treatment, but part of that treatment is going to be me educating you on what exactly is going on with your body. Because I 100% believe that if patients really understand what's going on, why you're doing the treatment you're doing, they'll actually respond better to treatment. So you have to take the time to educate them. And then you have to take the time to really push them into the driver's seat of their health. So show them the exercises that they should be doing, the stretches they should be doing, how to set up their desk if it's a postural ergonomic thing. Like, you really want to make them feel like they are their own champions of health. And I'm really just here as a resource. That's it. I'm not, God, I'm not here to cure anybody. I'm just here to help people feel better and then educate them on how to maintain it. That's it. So I think that's kind of what maybe led to me getting that award is, the focus on education. It's so important, in my opinion, so important for patients.
Yeah, you're just spreading the good.
Nice.
and I know that health advocacy and saying that we need to be our own health advocates is a really important thing to you.
100%.
Aside from education, is there anything else we should be doing to be strong advocates of our own health?
Yeah, I mean, education is so important, but also just trusting your instincts. Like, I tell this to patients all the time, you know your body better than I do. Sure, I know the science, I know the anatomy, but not everybody's the same. Not everybody responds to this stretch the same way or to this treatment the same way. So trust your instincts. You are the best advocate for your own health because you know your body better than anybody else. Never let a doctor or anyone tell you something that doesn't feel right. If it doesn't feel right, trust your instincts, get a second opinion, do more research. Whatever you have to do, never doubt that voice inside of you that might be saying something is wrong or I don't think this treatment is right for me. Do the research and just, believe that you know what's best for your body. Yeah.
Yeah, that's important to hear since, especially with a lot of Western medicine, we've been groomed to just believe whatever we're told.
Yeah.
And that's not always a good thing.
It's not. It's not. Like, I have patients come in sometimes, not at my clinic downtown, but they may have gone to see doctors elsewhere, like family doctors who have said, oh no, don't do acupuncture. Acupuncture is no good for you. Or you shouldn't see a chiropractor. They're just going to crack your back. That's not going to help. And really, patients will come in and say things like, oh, but I shouldn't tell my doctor that I'm here because this isn't good. And I'm like, what? What do you mean this isn't good? Like, what? And so I think you have to do your research. Like, yes, doctors know a lot, but they don't know everything. They don't. They're limited. We're all limited in what we know. But you know your body. So if there's something that you think you need, you think you might benefit from, do your research and ask the questions. Never just rely on what a doctor tells you.
Yeah, because I mean, any practitioner has their own biases too of what they think is right. And also there are some fantastic practitioners that are lifelong learners. And so as new studies come out, as new practices are being developed, they are really taking a leading edge approach on that stuff. But then there's the exact opposite end of the spectrum of people who are firmly old school and they're doing their things in the way that they've always done it. And that's that. So I love what you're sharing here. And since you brought up, literally, I wrote this down. I was like, some people think chiropractic is just back cracking.
Yes.
Can you tell us more? Just like at a high level, because myself included, you are the first chiropractor I've ever seen.
Right.
And that was out of a, state of necessity. And also because I was in a car accident. And through the insurance coverage that came with that accident, it said you get to spend this much on chiro and this much on registered massage therapy. I'm like, chiro, okay, that sounds interesting. I mean, I have this like almost like comic notion of what it is, right? I'm like, oh, I guess maybe it'll be like a souped up massage or something like that, or back cracking. I'm like, well, hopefully that makes me feel better. I don't know. So for the people who who were like me or are like me. Do you mind speaking a little bit about just that kind of treatment style?
Yeah, for sure. So I should start off by saying that not all chiropractors treat exactly the way I do. I was trained here in Canada, and there's only one school here in Canada, but a lot of Canadian chiropractors were trained in the States and are taught differently. But what I always tell patients is chiropractors, yes, we do focus on the spine because we believe or we understand the importance of having a spine that works well. It should move well because it supports all the muscles of the body. So that's important. But we don't just focus on the back. We can treat any joint in the body. So that could be your shoulder joint. It could be your wrist joint, your knee. We treat all joints of the body. The other thing we treat are muscles. So if you have tight muscles, if you have a muscle strain, a muscle pull, we are educated on treating that. So the fancy term is neuromusculoskeletal, which just means nerves, muscles, joints. If you have a nerve issue like carpal tunnel, headaches, we got you. If you have a muscle issue, like I said, like pulls or knots, we got that too. Or if you have joint issues like arthritis or ankle sprains, we can treat that as well. So it's not just treating the back. We really are taught how to treat the entire body, and our approach is very holistic. We don't just focus on the cracking, we focus on everything that works around the spine. So yeah, that's kind of what we do in a nutshell.
That's awesome. And then I'm going to throw you another curveball.
Yeah.
Probably not curveball, but just to flip it, because you're also a registered acupuncturist too. And even more so, I think a lot of people are wary of acupuncture. A lot of people think it's super like woo-woo and
or it's painful.
Or it's painful. Exactly. Again, myself included, before I luckily I did see someone before you with acupuncture. So at least I didn't, you didn't take my acupuncture virginity, but but again, for a lot of the people listening, they've never considered acupuncture because they think it's weird to be like a pin doll.
Which, no, it's true. I hear that all the time. But the thing about acupuncture, I mean, it's been around for like over 2,000 years or something. It's been around for a long, long time. And it's been around for a long time because it's effective. And nowadays, like within the last maybe 20-ish years, there is a lot more research being done on acupuncture and its effectiveness, from treating everything like headaches to anxiety to fertility issues. It's being used for so many things, which is why I wanted to add it to my practice. So I went to school and became a registered acupuncturist. And for me, it just works hand in hand with the chiropractic. So we use the acupuncture to really help get things moving internally. And then the chiropractic kind of works externally is how I look at it. But yeah, acupuncture is not painful. We're not like, trying to draw blood from you or anything like that.
It's the new version, the masochistic version of it.
Yeah, it should never be painful. And it does work where it works very locally. So if someone has a knot, I can acupuncture the knot to help kind of break the knot from the inside out. But it also works systemically. So even like with digestive issues and things like that, you can use acupuncture to help with those things as well. So for me, I highly recommend acupuncture for so many types of injuries and conditions. And it is very effective. Like I've been doing acupuncture now for 12 years. And I can honestly say for 95% of my patients, it has been effective. Yeah.
Myself included.
Yes.
I know. I'll never forget the first time. There's like this one needle area on the top of your head.
Yes.
And you're like, this is the one that calms you and takes away stress and this and that. And literally I fell asleep on the table during in the middle of a busy work day.
That's what happened.
It's true. It works.
That's how effective it is.
Yeah. Proof in the pudding. Take it from me. All right. I got plenty of health and chiro questions here, but I want to hop back to our 10 so we can keep going.
Definitely.
And number 5 is who or what inspires you the most?
That's a great question. From a personal point of view, I think my biggest inspiration, grab the tissues, is my mom. I mean, my mom is not an entrepreneur or anything like that, but what she's taught me is, and I use this in my practice, is the importance of listening to people and making sure that people are being heard. So in my practice, I really try, like when patients come in, especially for the first time, to really give them the space to tell me everything that's going on. Because a lot of times, especially like in the traditional medical system, it's like your appointments are 15 minutes and you got to just keep the Coles Notes version of it and just, hopefully the doctor understands or knows what's going on.
Throw some drugs at them.
Right. That's, sadly, that's a lot of what happens. But in my practice, I really want to make sure that they understand that I am there to listen. And what I find, and we actually learned this in chiropractic school, is 70% of the time you can diagnose a patient if you just listen to them. So before you even test them, put your hands on them, if you just take the time to listen, you can have that diagnosis already. So that's how important it is to be heard. And my mom is so great at that. Like, she just makes you feel like you're the most important person when you're talking to her. And she's just a very wonderful, loving woman. And I do hope that I emulate some of that and can bring some of that into my practice. And then from a business point of view, there's so many amazing women out there. Right? There's just so many. I mean, you've got the big ones like Michelle Obama. I love her. I just started reading her book, so I'm really excited.
That's
for
on
that.
my to read list.
Yeah, so
sure.
I love her. And then there's a lot of other women that I work with that I absolutely love. The woman who I worked with for 8 years, who started the fitness business that I rented space out of, Karen. She ran her own business for many years, and her business and working with her has grown tremendously. And what she's taught me is the importance of being passionate about what you do. She lives and breathes fitness. And it doesn't matter if she teaches like 5 classes in a row, her energy level is just high the entire time, because you can literally feel how much love and passion she has for what she's doing. So she's really taught me a lot about that. And then, just the women that I work with, like downtown, we work with some amazing medical doctors who are just so caring. Like, I've never met family doctors that are just so caring and really want their patients to get better. And they know that, hey, drugs aren't going to help you. Go see the massage therapist or go see the naturopath. They understand the importance of treating the patient holistically. So watching them grow their practice and have their patients just talk so highly of them, I want that too. So there's just a lot of fabulous women out there that I've been blessed to work with or to network with that are doing amazing things. And I only wish that the spotlight was shone more on them, which is why I'm so happy to be here, because I think so many women deserve their stories to be told and they're just not getting told, right?
That's why we're doing what we're doing, and starting here tonight with you.
Awesome.
So I actually really loved what you said about your mom, and making people feel heard.
Yeah.
Was that something that was just innate in her? Was it something that she developed? Was it something she used in her work?
That's a very good question. It's funny you say that, because my mom right now is actually in Dominica, where she was born, taking care of her mom.
Beautiful place.
Who is,
hopefully you can go
beautiful.
visit.
Oh, I can't wait.
Escape the winter.
Yeah, exactly. So my grandmother, who I'm not very close with because I've only met her a handful of times, but she is nothing like my mom. Like, she's like, for as long as I've known her, she's been like this grouchy, cold, like just, not mean, but just not nice. And so I always wonder, like, did my mom develop, like, to turn into who she is because she wanted to be the exact opposite of her mom? Like, I wonder that, because I'm just like, my grandmother is nothing like my mom. Like, just, they really are opposites. And so I wonder sometimes, like, is that why? Because for as long as I've known, she's just been such a loving person. So maybe I'll have to ask her one day if that's the reason why, because I can't say that, as I got older, she became more it's not that. She's just always been like that, at least for the 30 plus years that I've known her. She's always been like that. So I don't know. I personally think if I had to guess, it has something to do
She's like, I don't want to be like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me care.
Yeah.
And are there any tactics in particular that you try to emulate to make people feel listened to?
Oh, 100%. So for example, like I always make sure, like I never want to be sitting, because in the medical room, sometimes you have like these desks with computers. I never want to be like facing the computer, even though I have to take notes. I always want to make sure that I'm looking at the patient and we're on the same level. I should never be standing. I always have to be sitting and be on the same level with that patient. Anything that I can do to make them feel comfortable, I will do so. So just little things like that, like my posture, my positioning, I want to make sure it's good for the patient. And the other thing too, and which is one of the reasons why I want to start my own practice, is even things like the atmosphere within the clinic. Like I never want a clinic that feels too medical because people are coming, they're in pain, they're hurt. You don't want bright lights all the time. Like you need to create a calm, welcoming environment. So it starts with literally like the paint color on your walls or the type of chair they're sitting on. Like you really, as an owner, you really have to think about these things. Like they're important aspects to your clinic. Is you need to create that environment where they feel, where patients feel comfortable enough to kind of put the walls down and tell you exactly what's going on. As embarrassing as sometimes it can be, you want them to feel comfortable enough to do that.
That's a great point. My hypothetical clinic would have twinkle lights and beanbag chairs. So
that sounds amazing.
Yeah. And a bar. Totally counterproductive.
Yes.
But
a little wine never hurt anybody.
Right? Agreed. Okay. Question 6 is, what is the most adventurous thing you have ever done?
Not too long ago, funny enough. So I got out of a long-term relationship. This has nothing to do with business. But anyways, I got out of a
This
long-term.
podcast doesn't have to be purely business. It's good. Don't worry.
One of the first things I did was I went on a girls' trip. So me and 4 of the girls, we went to Iceland and Amsterdam, which was awesome. And part of it, one day we were drinking wine, having dinner, and they were all talking about the places that they had ventured to on their own. And I was like, I've never been anywhere on my own. Like, and I was like 36 at the time. I'm like, I've never been on a plane by myself. Like
really
nothing by myself. So I was like, this is crazy. And so that year, since I was alone, I was like, you know what? I'm going to book a trip. So I booked a trip to Thailand by myself, packed a backpack. I still can't believe I did this because I'm not a backpacker at all. Like I love comfort, luxury. Like I'm not a backpacker. But I was like, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to just go for 9 or 10 days, just go across Thailand and see what happens. And so I planned little bits of where I wanted to go. But in each place, I went to 3 different places. I kind of just played it by ear. And it was crazy. I mean, hopping like in the back of this pickup truck, because I think they're going to the bus terminal that I want to go to. I'm not quite sure, but there's somebody else who says they're going to the bus terminal. So just hopping on the bus and getting to some terminal that eventually took me to an airport. But it was scary. It was exhilarating. It was fun. It was a little lonely, but all in all, I came back not the same person I was before because I never thought I could do it. And again, I feel like I said this earlier. When you go through these experiences that you just never thought you could possibly do and you come out on the other end, there's no way you can be the same person. Like, I just don't think you can. Like, you learn so much, you shed layers of, I don't know, fear or whatever, and you come back a different person. And after those 10 days, I came back a different person. I had never done anything like that in my life. And I, to this day, encourage everyone to do that. I think everyone should just take a solo trip somewhere and just do what you want to do when you want to do it. Like, just challenge yourself. Because to me, that was a big challenge. And yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. And I got food poisoning. Oh God, it was just awesome. Oh
no, you got food poisoning while you're there by yourself?
I was there by myself. Like it was just, but you know what? I wouldn't change it because I'm telling you, I took care of myself. I got through it. I didn't call my mom like I normally would do if I was here.
Yep.
I just got through it myself. And yeah, it was, like I said, it was a whole mixture of emotions, but one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. Yeah, hands down.
That's so cool. I mean, I'm a globetrotter. I love to travel, and I've done my fair share of traveling by myself along with other people too, which is great. It's a conversation I remember a group of friends having a while back where it was one of the girls. She said, you know what? I'd always been used to traveling with, say, like her ex-significant other, and always following behind them because they were the one always leading the way. They were always the one sort of making the executive decision on where to go, where to eat, what to do. And but she just felt very comfortable with that. She was fine with it. It wasn't bad. But the difference in having this fall all on your shoulders and the excitement and the agency that you can just do whatever you want. It is absolutely amazing.
It is.
It's so cool.
100%. Yeah.
What were some of the key learnings or key takeaways that you gained from that experience, aside from where to not eat?
Yeah, exactly. Be careful of street food. I think, what did I learn? I learned that you don't have to always have a plan. Like, you don't have to plan every hour of every day. Like, sometimes it's okay to just wake up without a plan and figure out what you're going to do. Like, that's okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. Like, it doesn't make you less. I used to think that, you have to plan everything to be productive. No, you don't. Like, I mean, yes, there are certain things that, yes, you have to plan if you have goals and stuff like that, but it's okay not to have a plan sometimes and just to go with the flow. That was really, it was hard. Like, I remember before I left, I really wanted to plan out every day, but I was like, don't do that. Like, that's defeats the purpose. So for me, that was really, it was hard. But then once I was there and once I got used to it, I was just like, I can't believe I've never done this before. Like, what was I thinking? So yeah, not planning everything was really one of the best takeaways from that trip. And then the elephants, that was amazing.
I was going to say, was that the highlight, the elephants?
The elephants. Oh my gosh, the elephants were so beautiful. Aww. So beautiful. That was amazing. That was so amazing. Great. And learning that they have the same bones that we have. All the same bones.
Oh,
yes.
Really?
Yes, I had no idea.
Neither did I. And I also went to an elephant sanctuary. Yeah. I did not. It was less educational, more fun.
I was that one nerd. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, is that the clinic? Can I just go take a little peek in the clinic? But yeah, they had this anatomy up of the elephant. I was like, those are all the same bones. That's insane. That's so but cool. They're just shaped a little differently. But yeah, so that was nerdy, but still great takeaway.
That's fabulous. Yeah, my favorite part was being able to help bathe the elephants and throwing the mud on them and being able to splash them with water, and they were just very, very kind, very sweet.
Yes. Very quiet too. Like, I remember there was a group of us and the tour guide was like, oh guys, just turn around. There's just step to the side. There's an elephant behind you. I'm like, what? There was literally an elephant behind us and we didn't even hear it. Like, they were so quiet. Aww. And just the calm in the guide's voice. Oh yeah, just, take a couple steps to the left. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, just giant thing
right by. But that was amazing. Yeah. Just amazing.
Oh man. Yeah. When I went to Thailand, I remember like at the sanctuary, there were a whole bunch of really cute elephant babies.
Yes.
And I remember they named one Rihanna and one Lady Gaga. I'm like, what? Aren't we like outside of Chiang Mai somewhere? This is bizarre. Pop culture. Gotta love
exactly. It's everywhere. Even in the elephant sanctuary.
Very cool. Where are you going next?
That's a very good question. And this is the first time in a long time where I don't have anything planned because I've been so obsessed with this clinic that I've been afraid to book anything. But I definitely want to have a trip planned for February. And if I'm lucky enough, it will probably be, if I could go anywhere, it would be South America. I really want to go to either Nicaragua or Costa Rica. So we shall see.
Very cool. Yeah. And why those places?
I've never been to South America. And I have relatives that packed their bags with their 2 kids and moved to Nicaragua. they're an inspiration in their own right. And Costa Rica, just because my mom went twice. And her pictures looked amazing. And I'm like, I can't believe my mom has been there and I haven't. So I need to go just to prove a point.
Yeah. I can do it too.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my plan. Hopefully for February.
Yes, that sounds like an epic trip. That's definitely on my travel wish list too.
Absolutely. No, I can't wait.
That'll be a nice way to escape the winter here.
Exactly. Yes. And I need to do that.
Yep. All right. Moving on to question 7 is, what do you attribute your success to?
Ooh. I think some of it I've kind of touched on already, but it's always just putting one foot in front of the other, like having a goal, and no matter what comes in your way, because something always does come in your way, you just have to keep putting one foot in front of the other. And sometimes I am crying while I'm putting that one foot in front of the other. Sometimes I am half asleep because I am exhausted, but I just keep doing it. And I don't know where this resiliency came from, but I've just always been the type of person that when I have a goal, I will do what it takes to achieve it. No matter how hard, how tiring, I will continue to do it, because that sense of accomplishment that you get when you achieve that goal, it's like a high that you can't explain. Like, it's amazing. I mean, as little as, like I said, driving to school in my standard vehicle. For some people that means nothing, but to me, I cherish that moment. I still do all these years later. So it's always just putting that one foot in front of the other, just keep going, and eventually I'll get there.
Yeah. I understand where you're coming from. That sense of accomplishment feeding you forward. Even you're exhausted, you're still doing the thing. Yes. It's like you're snorting accomplishment, right?
Yeah. A little bit. No, it's true. I get it. I really do. Yeah. And I never want to be stagnant in my life. Like, I never want to stop having goals, because I feel like I would almost like disappear if I didn't have a goal. Like, I need to always be working towards something.
Yeah, no, I'm the exact same way. And I think, there's, for me, it emanates a little bit from a fear of not fulfilling my full potential and my perceived purpose in this world. And so, that's why this podcast was born in some part of it. You know what I mean? So I totally empathize. I think that's really, really helpful. It almost reminds me, I don't know if you've seen it. It was this viral video of these two cute kids, like two Asian kids in like these lamb costumes dancing at like a dance recital or something like that. Yeah. And one kid is literally visibly crying as he's dancing, but it's like a recital and he's still doing all the moves with his arms and legs, but he's like, his face is crying. And it's been totally memified of like, how I feel on Monday, or like, I have to fighting through the bit. Yeah. It's like this super, super viral video. It just always makes me think of that. I'm like, yep. If he can do it, I can do it.
I love that. I'm going to get on that tonight.
Awesome. All right. Question 8 is, what item or items could you never live without?
Oh my goodness. Well, I hate to say it, but my phone. My whole entire life is on my phone nowadays. But 2 years ago, I started using this thing called the Success Planner.
Ooh.
So one of my girlfriends, Carlin Purcell, she has like a collection of success planners. So they're day timers, but they're more than just day timers. They have like successful or motivational quotes. They have things that Oprah Winfrey uses to help her stay on target of her goals, different things that Tony Robbins uses. Like, she's put together all these amazing tools in the Success Planner.
Is it like a physical book?
It's a physical book. It is a physical book. It even has like areas for you to color, like it's just everything. Like, it helps you break down your goals weekly, daily. And it tackles all kinds of goals: financial, personal, health and wellness. Like, it really targets all aspects of your life. And for the last 2 years, I've had this book, and I still have one. It's in my car. I carry it everywhere I go. But that book helps me a lot as well. And even though I don't necessarily write in it like everything that I'm doing for the day, I just write important, even just like a quote to myself. Like, today is going to be a great day. Like, even though I don't write anything that I've got a meeting at 9, I don't write that down. I just write, today's going to be a great day. And just having that and looking at it it keeps me motivated. So that book has been with me each year. Well, this is my third year. This year will be my third year. I take it with me everywhere.
Wow. and where do you buy it? Where can we buy it?
She has a website. I believe it's called the carlinpurcellcollection.com. Otherwise, if you go on Instagram under Carlin Purcell Collection, it's there. And she doesn't make a lot, and she sells out every year, but it's really great for women. Like it's for women who want to accomplish anything. It's a great tool to have, and I absolutely love it. So I carry that with me now everywhere I go.
That sounds so cool. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yes, please. You should. It's they're great planners to have. Yeah, definitely.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So I have a whole bunch of domain specific questions.
Yeah,
I want to get to. And I know you're passionate about prevention.
Yes.
And so what can we as average human beings do to not be in a situation where we have to see someone in your capacity?
Right.
Physically.
That is a great question. So one of the important things is, well, there's so many important things, but physical activity is key. Mm-hmm. And I say this because I think the average Canadian sits for over 11 hours a day.
Sounds about right.
So if you take away like the 7 or 8 hours that you're sleeping, that's over half your day sitting. Our spines are not designed to be sitting, especially sitting at a computer. Like we are supposed to be out there hunting and gathering our food. Like that's what we're designed to do. So you put us in front of a computer, it's a position that is foreign to our spine. So it doesn't matter how flexible you are, how fit you are. It's just not good. So yes, we have to work. I get it. Not everybody has ergonomic desks or stand-up desks. I totally get it. But if you can dedicate time, I know this, everyone says this, but 10 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day to just doing something that's not sitting, going for a walk, doing a couple stretches, doing Tai Chi, anything you want to do, doing something that doesn't involve sitting is so important because 3/4 of my business is the result of people who just sit all day.
Oh, wow.
It really, really is. Like, yeah, I'd be out of work, I think, if people stopped using computers. So I think just being physically active is good. It doesn't mean you have to go run a marathon. I would never run a marathon. But doing a Zumba class, taking a dance lesson, trying archery, I don't know, just doing something that isn't sitting will be beneficial to you. So I think that is so important. And the other thing that I think is also important is sleep. We don't realize how important to our health sleep is. So if you're not getting a restful average of 6 to 7 hours of sleep per night, there is no way your body is working at 100% capacity. You're not working optimally at all. So eventually something will fail. So I think working on sleep hygiene is the word that they use now is so important. So, getting rid of the TV in your bedroom or, going to sleep at a certain time every night, using a sleep mask, whatever the case is, you want to make sure that you work on getting good sleep. Mm-hmm. So physical activity and sleep are the most important things. As I know it sounds easy, but really those are probably the best things to avoid getting a lot of the repetitive strain injuries that come into my office every day.
Mm-hmm. Those are great pieces of advice. I was actually just talking to a trainer of mine recently, and we were talking about sleep, and he said, think of when a baby is sleep training and you suddenly switch up their sleep schedule. They're super cranky and they just can't function.
Yeah.
And what he said was, how can you expect us to be any different? So if, you're going to bed at different times every single night, getting different hours of sleep, not enough sleep, things like that, we're going to be cranky.
Exactly. It's true. It's absolutely true. We're going to be cranky. Our muscles are not going to have the recovery time that they need. Our systems aren't going to be replenished. And eventually we won't feel so good. So it's so important. So important.
So for those of us who sit at a desk for many hours of the day, like myself, aside from maybe taking a break for a workout or a walk, is there anything else we should keep in mind and change or do? A couple of tips?
Yeah, stay hydrated at your desk is important because that's good for muscle health. But also just looking at your posture at your desk. I mean, not everyone, like I said, has access to ergonomic equipment, but your feet should be flat on the floor. Ladies, don't cross your legs. Like that's not ideal. So you want to have your feet flat at on the floor. If you have multiple computer screens, which I did not realize was a thing, but like everybody has like at least two, like it's crazy.
Yep.
Looking at the positioning of your computer screen. If you have a main screen, that main screen should be directly in front of you, not off to the side. It should be directly in front of you. Your keyboard, again, directly in front of you. Mouse, close to the side. You don't want to be reaching out too far to the side to find your mouse or to use your mouse. So keeping things close to you so that you don't have to strain muscles or joints to use the different equipment that you're using at your desk is really important. But I mean, nothing beats like getting up every hour and like going to the washroom or getting water. Sometimes I'll tell people, and now there's even apps so that like you can set it. So every hour your phone will go off to tell you to get up or just stretch or whatever the case is. Like technology has come a long way. So use it for that. I will tell patients, set a timer. If you don't have an app, fine. Put a timer on your phone. Whatever the case is, just remind yourself every hour to get up. And you don't have to get up for very long. Even just getting up for 60 seconds will help reset your spine so the discs aren't being so compressed. It's almost like they reset and then you sit again. And of course, they'll eventually start to compress again. But getting up every hour just gives it a chance to reset so that things aren't compressed as quickly.
That's a really good reminder. And you mentioned hydration. How much water should we actually be drinking?
That is a question that I get a lot, and I can never give you the right answer because every body is literally different. For the general purposes, you can always go with 8 glasses a day. But if you are the type of person where you're taking certain medications that can dehydrate you, you might need more water. If you're a smaller frame person, you may not need as much water. So the trick is,
me.
Yeah, I mean, it really, there's so many, right?
And if I drink too much, I'm literally peeing every like 5 minutes.
Exactly. So for someone like you, 8 full glasses might be a little much in a day. So it really depends on so many things. But if you feel thirsty throughout the day, you're dehydrated. You need more water. You should never feel thirsty. When you feel thirsty, you've gone too long or you haven't had enough.
I remember that from Ken. They're like, if you're thirsty, it's too late.
It's too late. Exactly. Forget it. It's over. But that's a sign that you're not getting enough water. You should never feel thirsty.
That's awesome. I know I probably don't drink enough water in my day-to-day. So it's, my partner and I, we call each other's water champions.
I love that.
Yeah, it's super lame. But like one of us will be sitting on the couch and we'll just bring over like a big carafe full of water and just give each other a knowing glance being like, we need to drink more water.
Time.
Yeah. Hold each other accountable.
I think that's great. That's so important.
It's super lame. It's fine.
I love it.
So a couple last ones here.
Yeah.
I read a cool piece where you were talking about high heels.
Yes.
And I know, especially for a lot of the women who are listening, we tend to put ourselves through a lot of pain for beauty and fashion.
Yes,
and
we do.
Again, especially for the short people like me. Grew up wearing lots of heels.
Yeah.
But I know there's some best practices that come along with that. Was hoping that you might be able to share a couple pointers.
I know. And it's not like I'm against high heels. I own a pair or 2 or 3 or 4
only one?
high heels. But everything in moderation. So for example, I will never commute in high heels. Do not recommend it. I keep my high heels at my desk, or if I'm going to a function, I'll keep it in my car, but I'm never commuting in high heels. I do not recommend that at all. And when you're purchasing high heels, obviously the higher the heel, the more stress on the things like the balls of your feet, on your toes, the more pressure on your knees. So the higher the heel, the worse it is for your body. But if you really want a high heel, look for things like platforms, right? So that they don't have such a high angle. So you're not forcing the weight too much in the front of the body and into the balls of the feet. Obviously, things like wedges or things that have a thicker heel are better because it will give you more base of support. So it will help to limit things like ankle sprains, which are very common in women who wear high heels. And the thing that I try to do a lot too is when I am wearing heels kind of before, but mostly after, is when I take them off, I will always stretch my calves out. Or what I'll do if my feet are feeling really tight is I'll take a tennis ball and just roll it in the arches of my foot to avoid that tightness in the arch, which, I mean, sadly can lead to things like hammer toes and stuff like that. So if you're going to wear heels, just be mindful of these things. And if you're shopping for heels, things like wider heels, platforms, stretchable materials, things like that are better. They're not the best. Heels are just not good. Sorry. But there are little things that we can do at least to kind of minimize our chances of getting injured.
Yep. That's helpful.
Yeah.
And one point I read that you wrote was it's best to buy heels at the end of the day when your feet are typically the most swollen. So therefore you buy a better fit.
Thank you for mentioning that, because that is very important. Shoes in general should be bought towards the end of the day.
I never would have thought of that.
Yeah. But that's a very key piece of advice for anyone.
Cool.
Yeah.
What are the most common issues that you typically see? I know you mentioned, hey, if it wasn't for computers, I would be out of business. But generally speaking, in general, like, what do you see a lot of?
I see a lot of neck pain for sure. Again, computer work, but also texting and just being on our phones. So I see a lot of, I call it text neck nowadays, but a lot. Yeah, because we're all like bent forward looking at our phones.
That's
so
true.
I see a lot of like neck pain, neck strains, which are really not because somebody fell or somebody was in a car accident. It's just, I woke up and my neck hurt. Well, because you spend so much time looking down at your phone that when you sleep, things tighten up and then you wake up in the morning and you can't move your neck.
Are you so what are you supposed to do? Like hold your phone in front of your face?
Yeah, bring your phone up to you.
Really?
Don't look down towards your phone. Bring your phone up towards you so you're at eye level, right? It just takes some of the pressure off the muscles in the back of the neck. So just little things like that. And don't be lying in, like, some people are telling me, I'm lying in my bed and I'm like watching something on my phone. I'm like, that's not the best. Like, it's just maybe not a good idea to do.
We bought one of those contraptions that holds onto the backboard of your bed and it kind of curves around. It holds the phone for you so you don't have to like hold it or crane your neck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Little things like that, they make a difference. So if you have to watch something on your phone in bed, think about ergonomics. But definitely neck pain, rib issues are very, very common. And again, I know I keep going back to posture, but a lot of people have rib issues because we're all hunched forward. So that puts a lot of strain on the ribs. So if ever you get pain that's kind of like between your spine and your shoulder blade, chances are that's rib pain. So it's usually in the upper back, but towards one side of the spine versus the other. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that the muscles in between our shoulder blades are so weak because we're hunched over. Those muscles just aren't being worked. They're not being worked. They fatigue and your ribs can move a lot. The ribs actually lose stability is really what happens. And then people come in and they can barely take a deep breath in. The pain is so sharp. Rib pain is very, very uncomfortable. And they're in a lot of pain and it's all because of posture.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's very common. And then I would probably say knees sometimes, a lot of plantar fasciitis. I think it's just because we don't know what kind of shoes to wear. Like nobody's wearing really good shoes. Everything is about fashion. But a lot of arch pain and heel pain coming from the tightness in the muscles under the foot from cramming our feet into small shoes or heels or really narrow shoes. So that's probably something that's also very common is foot pain, which is often the result of what's called plantar fasciitis.
Got it.
So those are just a few.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
We're all sorts of messed up.
Yeah,
It's great.
I know.
I know you mentioned rolling your feet on like a tennis ball or cross ball or something can be really helpful. Can you tell us a little bit about, say, stretching versus rolling and when's a better use case for each? I know rolling is very trendy right now. We see a lot of these foam rollers and other rolling contraptions and things. So it might help to demystify.
For sure. So stretching is great because stretching lengthens the muscle. So stretching is really good for like increasing our flexibility. So that is something that I highly, highly recommend. Where foam rolling or lacrosse ball rolling, where that comes into play is when you've got really thick restrictive knots in the muscle. When you have a knot in the muscle, particularly ones that have been there for a long time, when you do regular stretching, you're kind of stretching above or below the knot. You're not really often releasing the knot, especially if it's been there for a long time. That's where the rolling comes in. So what you use the rolling for is to release the restriction on the knots. Once that's done, then your stretching is more effective. So I think that everybody should have like a foam roller or lacrosse ball, something that they can use to help release the knots. And nowadays you can just go on YouTube and like Google foam rolling exercises and you'll get so many different videos out there. And a lot of them are fairly good. If you're not sure, you can always consult with your doctor. I have to throw that in there. But yeah,
don't hurt yourself.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think everyone should have a foam roller or some type of device where they can use that to release the knot. So it doesn't necessarily replace stretching. It's kind of in addition to stretching.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very helpful.
Yeah.
All right. Let's bring it back to our list of questions. And question number 9 is there anything you'd like to promote?
Oh, well, I guess I should start by promoting my new office for anybody that is in the West End. It's called the Chiropractic Office and Health Associates. So yeah, we are a multidisciplinary clinic, and we offer chiropractic, acupuncture, osteopathy, and registered massage therapy. So that is kind of my my baby that I am working on promoting right now. And
that's in Mississauga, which is west of Toronto, just for anyone who's
yes.
There's a lot of West Ends and a lot of places, just in case.
Yes, in Mississauga, yes. So we're about 25 minutes west of the downtown core. So that's kind of where all of my attention has been going. And that's pretty much, I mean, all I have going on right now. Ask me in a year and I may be promoting something different. I'm actually in the process of starting to write a book on posture.
Cool.
Yeah. So very baby stages, but yeah, so that's coming up eventually sometime in 2019. I don't have an exact date yet.
Very cool.
But yeah, I'm excited about that.
And where can we find you online?
Everything is at Dr. Nekessa Remy. I keep it simple on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, my website, drnekessaremy.com. That's where I try to post a lot of the most recent educational videos or blogs or pictures, whatever I can find that I think will help somebody. That's where I will post them.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Last question.
Yes.
Question 10 is, what is a lesson you learned the hard way that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Ooh, what have I learned the hard way? I think one of the things when I first started out was I didn't really utilize my mentors as much as I think I could have. I was always afraid to bother people. And I think sometimes, I think all women can relate to this. We don't want to bother people. You know, everyone is busy. I don't want to ask a question because they're probably, super busy and they don't have time for me. And what I've learned is that's not true at all, especially women who are... Women always want to help women, like we do, like this whole cattiness. And I think that's just something that the media or society kind of plays upon. But I have never met a woman that wouldn't want to support another woman. Like, I just haven't. Maybe it's just me and the bubble that I live in. I don't know. But all of the women I have met on my journey as a businesswoman have been fantastic. So I think a lot of the mistakes that I made, whether it was like marketing mistakes or general practice mistakes, I know there were people I could have asked to kind of help, because there were so many women who've helped me in my journey, but I was always afraid to bother them. And they were so successful, and I know they had done everything that was doing. So they'd be more than happy to share their advice, but I didn't ask. And so I ended up making some mistakes on the way that, looking back, I know could have been avoided. So for anyone listening, if you have a mentor, utilize them. And if you don't have a mentor, find one. And I'm telling you, it will not be hard to find a mentor, especially if you're a woman looking for another woman to mentor you. There are so many out there. I have networked with them. I have worked with them. There are a lot out there. So there are resources. Utilize them.
How do you recommend finding mentors?
Networking events. I go to a lot of women in business events. I went to this one event, which was I think it was women in finance. I'm not in finance by any means, but it was being held near my office downtown. So I just thought, well, I'll go check it out. And yeah, they had amazing speakers, women talking about all kinds of things that they've accomplished, projects they were working on. And even though it wasn't in the health and wellness field, I learned so much. So just go to meetups, or even just Google Women in Business Toronto, or wherever you live, you will find things. And I'm telling you, I can't say this enough. I've never been to an event where I haven't felt welcomed amongst women and where I haven't learned something. I always learn something when I go to these events.
Rock on. Let's keep lifting each other up.
Yes.
Nekessa, thank you so much for your time. I learned a ton. It was so great to have you.
Thank you so much. This was so awesome. So awesome.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Find us on Facebook at Legit Lady Podcast. That's LEGITLADY Podcast. And on Instagram at Legit Lady Podcast. On Twitter at Legit Lady Pod. That's Legit Lady POD. And please rate and comment on iTunes and anywhere else you get your podcasts. If you love what you hear, share it broadly and proudly. Thanks, everyone.